when I'm not in a good place, I always go, damn you, brain. Like, I hate you. Why are you being like this?
I hate you.
You're
so dramatic.
Yeah, I'm very dramatic. We know this. But, now I'm like, I'm not going to have a hate fest on my brain because my brain, it's doing what it's doing what it's designed to do.
Yeah.
This is what I thought. What is it to be mindful? Mindfulness is the basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing, and not to overly react or get overwhelmed by what's going on around us. As someone who experiences anxiety, particularly in social settings, I found practicing mindfulness to be hugely beneficial to my mental health. So today's show is dedicated to talking about all things mindfulness. But I will throw over to Amanda to introduce the show formally.
All right. So welcome to Settling's Not an Option. I'm Amanda Stanhope. Of course, I'm here with my co-host, Adam Nebbs. And this show is for anyone out there who feels like they've settled for an unfulfilling life. Whether you've settled in a relationship, the work that you do, or just in how you feel about yourself and treat yourself, we're here to tell you that settling's not an option. If you find value in this show, you can follow us on Spotify, Amazon Music, or on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel you can subscribe to. And if you're so inclined, you can be so generous as to donate as little as $1 to us on Coffee, which there'll be a link in the description. That'll help us keep the show going, get some new equipment, and all that good stuff. And last but not least, if you would like to give us any feedback, which we would greatly appreciate, or if you want to give us a show or recommend a show topic, you can email us at cheerstoNotSettling@gmail.com. And I have the pleasure of introducing the 3 topics that we're going to talk about. So if people aren't familiar with the show, what we normally do is we break the topic, like today's mindfulness, we'll break it up into 3 topics that we'll hit in 15-minute segments. So the 3 topics today are, what are the different ways we can be mindful? What are the health benefits of being mindful? And how can practicing mindfulness help us be more compassionate? So that I will turn it back over to Adam to tell us the different ways that we can be mindful.
I'll just hit record.
All right.
Thank you, Amanda. So I'm really stoked to talk about this because mindfulness is really important to me, and I know both of us practice it a lot.
Yeah.
But today I wanted to start by talking about the different mechanisms of mindfulness, because I think the best explanation I heard is that you can choose your own vehicle, like whatever vehicle you like to be mindful, because there's lots of different ways. There's meditation. I think everyone knows about that. Yeah. There's active forms of meditation, which I just want to kind of talk about a little bit because I don't think people know the difference. And thirdly, journaling, which is not something I practice a lot, but I think could be an interesting alternative to, normal kind of forms of meditation. Sure. So I'll talk through the different types of meditation. And I'm taking this from Healthline because they actually kind of summarize 9 different types of meditation. So I'll kind of hit each of those.
9 kinds?
9 different types, yeah. Wow. I was like, really?
Wow. Yeah.
But it's interesting kind of reading through the different types because I'm like, I have practiced most of them, to be honest. And they all, I think, have really good benefits. So the first thing I want to talk about is the difference between, say, guided meditations and kind of standalone self-meditations, I guess. It's probably not the easiest way to explain it. But I know of a lot of different apps on your phone where you can have guided meditation.
Yeah.
And that's where somebody is literally throughout the exercise guiding you through. Now, I found the guided meditation side quite useful in the beginning, but now I find it really annoying. When I'm trying to be mindful, I don't want somebody sitting there talking me through it the whole time. I'm like, I just want to be by myself and just focus on my thoughts.
Okay.
So guided's a good entry point into it, I think, though, because it's quite intimidating, the idea of just sit down and be with your thoughts. It's good to have a coach there, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
So some good examples, right, I think of some guided meditations is one of the big kind of mindful gurus is a lady called Sharon Salzberg. Now, she has written a lot of books on meditation and she's very big on the practice. She often, if you say follow her on Instagram, has a lot of free content. Now, her guided meditations for me these days are too much. There's a lot of talking, not a lot of pause to sit and reflect. but
Yeah.
it could be a good entryway. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there for anyone kind of new to the practice, because having a guided guru, whether it's Sharon Salzberg or any of the different apps you can get on your phone for free, that's probably a good entryway.
Right.
But when you're comfortable, some of the different types is you've got mindfulness meditation. So that comes from Buddhism. That's probably one of the most popular forms in the West. And that's where you just sit down, pay attention to your thoughts as they pass through your mind. You don't judge the thoughts or become involved with them. You simply observe and take note of any patterns.
Okay.
So that's a big thing for mindfulness, I think, is that there's this belief that you shouldn't have any thoughts. You have to completely stop your brain from thinking.
Right.
But the most important thing to realize is that's what your brain's designed to do. Like it's built to keep you alive. So how does it do that? By generating thoughts constantly about everything, trying to perceive threats and be like, okay, what are the, different threats that could come in? I'll present some thoughts for consideration. So it's more about being able to see your thoughts or think about your thoughts, I guess.
Right.
The next one would be spiritual meditation. So that's kind of from the East. So that could be like Hinduism, Taoism, Christianity. And that's where you'll reflect on the silence around you and try and connect to the universe, your God, whatever it may be.
Okay.
Focus meditation. So that involves concentration using any of the 5 senses. Otherwise, I've heard it called anchoring. And that's where you're going to focus on various things like, physical sensations, your breathing, your taste buds, all of you kind of those things. You're focusing on your senses and trying to anchor or ground yourself in the moment. And from a meditation perspective, a lot of the time that could be focus on your breathing, because we're always breathing or we're going to get ourselves into some trouble. Another one is movement meditation. So straight away, people could think about yoga, and yoga is a great example of it. But movement meditation could be walking around the house or walking down the street and paying attention to your body, your muscles and all of those sensations of moving. So that's a good alternative as well. And kind of, if you're somebody who's busy and always on the move, you can practice this on the way to work or something like that.
Sure. Yeah, that makes
sense. Kind of encouraging that you don't have to sit in a room quietly. If you don't have that opportunity, moving around and being mindful is a good opportunity.
Yeah.
Another one's transcendental meditation. I guess I've maybe looked at this a little bit, but it's basically about mantras. So it's where you'd silently sit down and you'll kind of chant some mantras in your head.
Okay.
And when we say mantras, not so much kind of that like sitting there and like, because I think that's a different form of meditation. It's maybe just having a mantra in your head, like, or your intentions for the day or something like that. Your own self mantra, I think, is where that comes from. Another one's the body scan meditation. This is a really good one. It's like a progressive relaxation technique where you'll kind of scan down your body. So, how does it feel in your head, your shoulders, not trying to change anything. It's just, how do I feel? And that's really useful because sometimes you'll find your jaw's tense or like your shoulders are tense or whatever it may be. And the idea is progressively bring some warmth and relaxation to your body. So that's a good alternative as well. Another one's loving kindness meditation. We've almost got there. I didn't realize how many different forms there are.
No, you're fine. I'm learning stuff. Well, it's interesting.
Oh, cool. Excellent. I was like, I'm taking up a lot of airtime.
No, you're good. You're good.
Thank you. The loving kindness meditation is all about compassion, kindness, and acceptance towards oneself and others. And I like this one because it's almost, at least the practices I've seen, is where you'll start inside and you'll be like, how do I feel? How can I have compassion in myself? Then you start spreading it out. So to be like, spread it out to the room, the building, the street, the suburb, the city, the country, the world. And so it's where you almost feel like a ripple effect that you then bring back into yourself. And it's because of the idea behind mindfulness and meditation in particular is you're doing it not just for yourself, but you're doing it for everyone else. Because if you're mindful, it's going to benefit the world. So loving kindness is all about sharing compassion with yourself and the world, which is quite a nice way of doing it.
It is, yeah.
The final one is visualization meditation. And I haven't really done this at all, but
Okay.
it's focused on enhancing feelings of relaxation, peace, and calmness by visualizing, funnily enough, like positive, happy scenes,
Yep.
So that could be interesting. Might be something that we try, but it's where, I guess you imagine your happy place and bring relaxation to yourself. So that's kind of the meditation. Active meditation, and this was something that one of my friends mentioned. I hadn't heard of it called this before, but active meditation is where you're not just, say, sitting there, closing your eyes and focusing on what's happening inwards. It's you're doing something. So,
Right.
for example, Wim Hof, who we've talked about a bit on the show, he has a very active form of meditation, which is very intense breathing.
Okay.
And that's an amazing technique as well. I think it's got its place. It's not something I do all the time because it's very involved.
Yeah.
But the idea of that is, very intense breathing, holding your breath, alkalizing your body, and the health benefits for that can be really huge. So that's an interesting form. Then finally, there's journaling, which I'll get Amanda to talk a little bit about before. We were having a discussion before the show. But journaling was something that I kind of heard most in a video that Amanda sent me from the Daily Stoics on Ryan Holiday. And he was talking about, for people who don't like the idea of sitting down and meditating in the traditional way,
Right.
you can sit down and you can write. And it's quite cathartic to kind of put your thoughts on paper and kind of get them out that way. So those are the different forms of meditation. But I might throw it over to you, Amanda. Can you think of any other kind of different types of meditation? And what's your favorite type of meditation?
So, yes. So the other ones I wrote down just so I wouldn't forget them.
Yeah.
Because I'm a geek like that, just for people who don't know.
We're both geeks. It's fine.
But, because as I was thinking about it, besides, one, I didn't know about the 10 types. And that's really interesting to me because now I can recognize like some of the yoga I've done, and I'll talk to you about later about another meditation I did. It kind of encompassed all of those things in one. So it's kind of cool.
Wow.
Now that I know that, I didn't realize it was trying to pull so many different pieces of meditation into one act.
Cool.
So that's cool. But anyway, so if anyone wants to check out Yoga with Adrienne, we're not getting paid for that or anything, but that's the one that I do. And she pulls a lot of those elements in. So that's cool. But anyway, and yoga is probably my preferred method, by the way.
Yep.
Yoga and writing. But the other ones I would think of, I think it's really anything that requires your full attention, like either because it's challenging you or because you're enjoying it so much that you can shut everything else out just for however long you need to, even if, and I think people too often think if they're going to do some kind of mindfulness exercise or meditation, like they have to set aside an hour or, whatever. Like they think it has to take a long time. It doesn't. Even if you only have a minute, you'd be surprised how much a minute of focusing on your body and focusing on your breathing and stuff, how much of a difference that can make. But anyways, so I think it's anything that is, like I said, requiring a lot of your attention. So I wrote down, like, I think even doing puzzles, like whether it's a physical puzzle that you're putting together, or like I do Sudoku puzzles or crossword. I don't do crossword puzzles, but some people enjoy crossword puzzles. I think that could be even a form. Yeah, because you're so focused on that, as long as it's something that's challenging enough where it holds your attention. Or I thought, well, maybe drawing would be, or some kind of artistic, I think really any kind of artistic endeavor could be, because you could get so lost in it that you kind of forget what else is going on. And you're so in tune with your feelings. Now that I'm thinking about that more, when you're in an artistic endeavor that you really enjoy, you are really in touch with your thoughts and your feelings, and you're getting that out somehow, either whether it be on paper or through music or through film or whatever. Yeah, so that really is a kind of meditation, I think. What do you think about that? So. I just thought of that's really such an expression of feeling.
I think so. Yeah, I've heard some people talk about using art like as a form of working through stuff. So yeah, I hadn't thought of that. That's an interesting one.
And I mean, I did write it down, but even as I was talking about it, it made more sense.
This is usually what happens. It's not until we
know.
say it on the podcast, we're like, oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah, we are awesome, aren't we? No. But but I think it's awesome to like introduce people to the idea that mindfulness, like you said, there's so many different vehicles.
Yeah.
And so you can practice mindfulness in whatever way works for you. You don't have to do it the same way that everybody else does. And I think that we try to put ourselves in these cookie cutter ways of doing things sometimes. And or if we settle, let's use our verbiage here, we settle for the definition of like meditation being a certain thing that we have built in our mind. And that's not even what meditation is. I mean, we just talked about there's 10 different kinds or whatever there were.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah. So it's like not settling for what you think mindfulness and meditation are and finding your own way to do it. Because there are a lot of benefits, which we'll talk about in the next couple segments here. But, you wanted me to talk about journaling, or did you have any other thoughts before I get to that?
You made a good point just about the work that like you do with the expectation gaps, and we were talking about Mark Manson as well and how he uses his website for that. So if you want to maybe talk about that too.
Okay. So what I've found, so I've been writing consistently for the past 2 years, and we're almost out of time here.
That's okay. We'll extend it a little bit.
We'll go over in the segment. But all right, so what I have found, first of all, I found that writing really helps me quiet the voices in my head, if you want to say that right. Not that I have multiple personalities, but it's helped me put all my thoughts together so that they're not just all like all over the place. And it helped. What I found is it's kind of a form of therapy. It's like, I'm taking this from Mark Manson because he said that his writing, the way he writes is he writes about something that he's going through, and it almost ended up being a form of very public therapy for him. And then I'm like, that's kind of what I do, because I try to write about what I'm thinking about or what I'm going through or what I've learned about recently, partly to get it straight in my own head. Partly, that's part of the reason. And the other part is because I know if I'm going through it, somebody else is going through it too. And so if someone could come across that. But anyway, so the point of the writing exercise then is to help you get your thoughts in order, I think. Just to get them out. And maybe get more in touch with your feelings so you could sort through your feelings a little bit better.
Yeah, I like that. But that's the biggest thing. The destination is mindfulness, choose your vehicle. And I think when you start the practice, just have compassion for yourself and choose whatever works for you. So give it a go. Try all the different types. And just maybe because society says, hey, this is the best way to do it. You must sit in a room silently and chant. And you don't have to do that. Just do whatever. Whatever gives you a little bit of pause, I think. Is the best
absolutely.
Way to
all right. Perfect. So you want me to introduce the next topic?
Yes, please. And I'll hit play.
Okay. So the next topic is, what are the health benefits of being mindful?
Cool. So this is a really interesting one. So I listened to a neuroscientist. Her name's Tara Swart. And she's an amazing lady. Like she's got some amazing content out there. Plus, like there's a brand of supplements that I take regularly called Heights. I think I mentioned it in a show ages ago.
Yes, and it sounds familiar.
Yeah, and she is like the leading kind of neuroscientist behind Heights, which is where I came across her.
Okay.
But listening to her talking about mindfulness recently, she talks about like peer-reviewed research that shows those who meditate regularly have more folds in their brain. Now, what a fold is, I have no idea. I won't even pretend I do. But the process is called gyrification. And all the folds in your brain do is it allows you to have more pause. So they said people are able to, you're still going to have your emotions, you're still going to have your thoughts, but it just gives you a little bit more space to actually go, oh, I'm having a thought or I'm having an emotion, and then you don't get caught up in it. Yeah. So people who regularly do that, they've shown they've got more folds in the brain. So that's kind of cool. This is peer-reviewed research. I read the article recently, and it's in quite a big journal. So it's legit. The other thing as well is it's good for cardiovascular health. So it shows people suffering from anxiety and depression benefit from it. I can definitely say I have seen the benefits. Like
Yeah.
if I regularly meditate and regularly, breathe when I'm out in public, that panic that I feel in my body usually isn't there as much. Like
Yeah.
I feel it rising, but I can almost pause and be like, yeah, I've got this. Whereas if
Right.
I'm not, I'd noticed that pause isn't there as much. So that's been an interesting practical lesson for me.
Mm-hmm.
There's other things too. There've been many medical benefits, things like ulcerative colitis. So that's been shown to be a benefit. But I also read an article recently in my studies in workplace mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And this is in Nature, the journal Nature, which is like top tier journal.
Okay.
And they specifically talked about interventions that have efficacy when it comes to mental health. And mindfulness and meditation was shown to have a significant impact, not only on just the general population,
Yeah.
but also on the population of people suffering from mental illness. So
Yeah.
that's quite interesting. There's a lot of research to suggest that there are benefits there.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's always something important, I think, because I think there's a part of society that really wants, okay, well, where's the legit part of this? Because I know a lot of the Eastern traditions, they don't need to have peer-reviewed research to say it works.
Right.
They just say, we've been doing it for a long time.
Yes.
And, I think people from the East are usually a lot more happy than the people from the West. So,
Right.
but in the West,
it seems like it.
Yeah, it does. But in the West, we want hard science.
Yeah.
We want to know this is legit. It's not some, airy-fairy thing. So, yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts as well. Like, what have you found as benefits from whether it's yoga or different types of mindfulness?
Yeah, well, there's so many. But the other thing I wanted to mention quickly so I don't forget is because you were talking about the mental health aspect of it and that it can help people with mental health issues. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. But I had a friend lately who has been in AA, and she mentioned to me that a part of AA, which is Alcoholics Anonymous, I assume everyone knows that, but maybe not. Alcoholics Anonymous. Part of that is meditation. Like that's one of it's actually, and I looked it up to see, but it's actually the 11th step of the 12 steps. It's prayer and meditation. But so it's like, obviously there is something to it if that's been worked into this, and it's probably in the other 12-step programs as well. But obviously, like when you're talking about wanting hard proof, I would say that's pretty hard proof since we know that those programs are pretty effective.
Very true.
And they have it worked into their program. So
I didn't know that. That's
I never
really
knew that either until a couple months ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as far as benefits that I've seen, so I guess I'll say what I do. So I don't know, over the years I've tried different things. What I'm doing right now is part of my morning routine is I do a 5 to 10 minute yoga video in the morning. And nothing intense, but just to kind of wake the body up kind of thing. I do go for a walk in the morning too, like mid-morning. And I would say that's part of meditation for me or mindfulness.
Yeah.
Take a nap every day. So that's my other, but I do actually, if I think about that, I do think that is a form of because I'm just shutting my brain off for a little while. And just letting myself be instead of trying to do something. I'm taking a break from doing and just being for a little while.
Yep.
And I do also do a full-length yoga video. I try to do 5 a week. So those are kind of some of the mindfulness, and the writing that I do is a mindfulness exercise, I would say. So those are like the obvious mindfulness things that I do. And I just know, even though I have my moments, my mind is so much calmer than it ever used to be. I sleep so much better than I ever used to sleep. I've always been a horrible sleeper. Like I've never been one to sleep through the night. I used to wake up 4 or 5 times a night all the time.
Wow.
And now I usually still wake up like 1 time a night.
But
like I'll wake up and I feel like I've been sleeping forever. Like I feel like I've been getting a really, really good sleep. So it's helped with that. And I just think my overall attitude toward things Like I just feel happier. And I've always been happy I've always presented myself as a very happy person, but I haven't always been that happy on the inside.
Yeah.
And so now I feel like the outside reflects the inside most of the time.
That's
like
nice.
I said, we all have our moments.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think, what else have you noticed personally?
Well, I noticed when I was doing the Wim Hof breathing stuff, which is the alkalizing of the body.
Yeah.
I don't really know what that means, but it sounds important.
It sounds like it must be something important. Yes.
Yeah, just it sounds very serious. But like I found that when I start to get a cold or something like that,
yeah.
it like helped me bounce back a lot quicker. Like I
Yeah.
still, got the cold, but like I felt like I'd basically be okay within half the time I usually would be.
Right.
So, and it's true. I think there's more oxygen in your blood.
Yeah.
Like when I went and donated blood and they checked my hemoglobin levels, my oxygen had increased. So it shows you, just breathing and doing that kind of active meditation stuff, that has an impact on your body.
Yeah.
So I just think it's interesting. I do think there's definitely, it definitely does help your body regulate things a lot more.
For
and
sure.
So it's not, but for me the biggest part would be the mental health stuff, is it's giving me pause so I don't panic and I can respond, like pick up on my thoughts a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Like I found recently having like a week and a half of feeling really like not myself, my thoughts just ran away. Like I had no control over my thoughts, whereas like meditating more regularly, because I at that time as well I wasn't practicing meditation as regularly as I do, so that's interesting. Getting back on the wagon, I'm finding that I'm able to pick up on my thoughts a lot better. And you're almost kind of, because what will happen I find is like a thought will pop into your head and that'll usually have an accompanying emotion, and then another thought will come and it just kind of goes and takes off. Like it is like a car, it just starts driving. Whereas like you can almost stop it before it takes off and goes too far down the road, because you're like, whoa, what are you doing there, brain? Like I get you trying to put things together here to help me, but no, that's not what's going on.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. Try and keep an eye on the car before it takes off and goes too far.
Yes. Well, and I guess I've noticed that a lot in myself, is that the pause that you like. I just paused. See, I did that on purpose. No, not really.
So mindful.
Yes, I'm being mindful right now. But I have noticed that in myself, where before I would, like, if I had, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but if something threw my day off, like say mid-morning, all of a sudden my day's thrown off, I'd be thrown off for the whole day. I would just throw in the towel. I'm like, the rest of the day is just gonna suck. Where now I can like just sit and feel, and I think part of it too is part of being mindful is not trying to repress your feelings or trying to change your feelings. Like, okay, I feel crappy right now, but I'm not going to feel crappy all day. I just need to get through this, do some breathing, whatever. Or maybe I am going to feel crappy all day, but I'm not, whatever. It's not going to last forever is the point.
Yeah.
And so it's like, as soon as you, and we've talked a little bit about this too, the idea that what you resist persists.
Yes.
So it's like, if you're trying to resist your feelings, they just last longer.
Yes.
So I think that that's a big part of being mindful too, is just letting your feelings come in, do what they got to do.
That's it.
That's kind of your pause, I think, too.
Yes.
To feel that, and then you can move on. After that.
It ties back to what we said about, it's not about trying to like stop your thoughts. Like that's not going to happen.
No.
And that's why I think so many people, I was the same in the beginning. I'd be so disappointed. I'd sit down and I'd have all these thoughts and I'd be like, oh, I can't do this. Like, this is rubbish. But it's not that at all. It's literally your thoughts are never going to stop. But I think it's also having like a basic understanding of the brain. Like, this is where I've realized, because when I'm not in a good place, I always go, damn you, brain. Like, I hate you. Why are you being like this?
I hate you. You're so dramatic.
Yeah, I'm very dramatic. We know this. But, you know,
Your
now
brain.
I'm like, I'm not going to have a hate fest on my brain because my brain, it's doing what it's doing what it's designed to do. This is
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
thought is I'm like, so even say social anxiety. So the way I look at it is like social anxiety for me would be a fear that I'm going to do or say the wrong thing, right?
sure.
And embarrass myself or mainly it'll be say or do the wrong
Yeah,
thing. And in my brain, I feel like it's gone, all right, one of the basic needs you need of survival is people around you, social support, friendship, community. And
right.
so part of it's programmed to say, do not lose that because
Yeah,
then you're at higher risk of getting eaten by a tiger or something like that. This
right,
kind of prehistorical stuff.
right.
So that, of course, my brain's just doing what it's meant to do, but it's also just going and pausing and going, all right, so I appreciate you doing that. You're just trying to keep me safe from the threat. I'll consider your insights because that's
Yeah,
what I think it is. Your brain's like, I'm going to give you a bunch of thoughts, which are insights, and you can act on them as you want.
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
You know, because there are helpful
right.
thoughts. Otherwise, we wouldn't be, you know, navigating the world as we do. But there are unhelpful thoughts. So it's
Yeah,
about being able to go, yeah, I get where you're coming from there, but that's not helpful right now.
right.
I'll leave that. But acknowledge it, as you say. Don't try and repress it and be like, no, I cannot think this way. If it pops up, it's just giving you an option and you can choose to take it or leave it.
Yeah. Well, and I think another important point that ties into that too is that you I don't remember the exact percentage, and it probably depends what study you look at, but it's over 90%. No matter which study you look at, it's over 90% of our thoughts are completely outside of our control. Like they're just from our unconscious mind or our subconscious, and so they're just gonna like you exactly the thoughts you're talking about. But that is a humongous percentage. So don't ever
Yeah.
as soon as we start trying to think we can control our thoughts, we're already defeating ourselves, or we're going to feel self-defeated.
Yeah.
What you want to strive for, I think, is not to control that initial thought that pops in your head, because you can't. But as soon as that initial thought comes in, you can change your response to that thought. And that's
Yeah.
what you're really trying to do. That's what the
Yeah.
mindfulness is really to do, I think.
Yeah.
Is to
Yeah.
change your response.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's saying everything's normal. Thoughts are normal. Feelings are normal. But just take control. I think it's having that awareness means that you can go, all right, I'm gonna respond in the way that
Right.
I want to, as opposed to just responding, which might not be the best way possible.
Yeah. And take the pause
Yes.
for a minute.
Yes. All right. Well,
Are
that
we good
wraps
on that
up
topic?
segment 2. Yes.
All right, perfect. All right, let me reset the timer here. So the last question of the day: how can practicing mindfulness help us be more compassionate? So this one, I'm really curious to see what you're going to say on this one.
Yeah. So obviously, we've just talked about, mindfulness creates more folds in the brain, gyrification, and it gives us more time to pause. And it gives us more meta awareness, which is just a fancy way of saying, the ability to think about thinking, think about or really experience and be mindful of your bodily sensations, your emotions, all those things.
Yeah.
And so straight away, I think about, if you can do those things, you're going to have more compassion for yourself and more compassion for others. Now, one thing I want to talk about, which I started listening to this wonderful book this week called Into the Magic Shop by a guy called Dr. James Doty. Now, it was like a New York Times bestseller, translated into like 35 different languages.
Oh, wow.
So like people like it, and it's a great book. And the introduction to the book is he talks about like he's not a neuroscientist, a neurosurgeon.
Oh,
and he's
wow.
performing brain surgery on this little boy who has a tumor in his head.
Yeah.
And something goes wrong during the surgery. And he is able to draw on his ability to be mindful and take pause to actually kind of get himself out of this really bad situation, right? Because I can't imagine anything more stressful than doing neurosurgery on like a little kid. Oh. So, and it's beautiful because he goes back to the story of how he uses this practice of mindfulness to really understand his feelings and his thoughts, because he came from a really bad background where his father was an alcoholic, his mother had had a stroke and like had serious depression, and so he was in a horrible circumstance where he would get very angry all the time, and it would like really seize up in his body and his thoughts, and it kind of permeated his world.
Sure.
And that's the thing, right, is he learns the art of compassion and understanding of these people, you know, throughout all walks of his life, because he has that time to pause. So that was something I was interested in, because I do think, you know, compassion is hard sometimes, especially, say, for people that are really difficult. You know, so if you've got someone in your face in a work capacity giving you a hard time, or maybe it's, you know, somebody in your past that's really frustrated you and you can't quite get over it. Compassion's very hard in that instance. Right. But I think having the pause allows you to observe, say, like your initial reaction, your body going, I'm angry, I'm now going to fight you, or whatever it is. You can kind of take that pause and go, yes, I can take that as an opportunity, but I choose maybe to consider that you're not in a good place yourself, and I need to have some love and compassion for you, right? You know, and I think that's a lot harder if you don't have that pause. So that was my thought, because I think the times when I've responded and got very frustrated about something is there's no pause. It's like my brain's just gone to its normal, natural reaction of, you know, fight mode, I guess, which is like, right, I'm going to label you as like the enemy here and get really mad at you because it keeps, because that's what I think needs to be done. So it's a lot harder for me, I think, to take the other road, which, you know, the compassion road, but mindfulness is helping me get there. Yeah. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
For sure. Yeah, I've noticed that in you. So
you've seen the journey.
Yes, I have. But no, one thing you said really struck me, because I had not connected the dots between this and mindfulness, like compassion and mindfulness. But I think through the mindfulness, you're feeling your feelings. You're not trying to judge your feelings or repress your feelings or whatever. And you're trying to maybe thinking about what's causing those feelings as you pause. All of a sudden you start figuring out all the crap that's gone on in your life that's made you have these feelings. And once you start realizing how imperfect you are and how much stuff you've been through, that's what's going to make you more compassionate toward other people, I think. Mm-hmm. And I knew that, but I knew those experiences were what made you more compassionate toward other people. But I'd never thought of it as linked to mindfulness, because it's a way of drawing on those experiences in the moment. Really.
Yeah.
Like, so that you can be more compassionate. You're being more compassionate to yourself.
Yes.
And in turn, you can be more compassionate to other people.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. It's not only, compassion for others, but compassion for yourself. What's that? I think, there was some kind of teaching that said something like, compassion is not true compassion if it doesn't include yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, like, you know for a fact, right? So if I spat in your face, the instant reaction you would have would be anger, I'm sure. Unless, like, you're super... super, like a superhero doesn't get impacted by that. But the normal reaction would be to get angry. Right? And then I think it's what comes next after that. So, like, anger sucks, right? Because you'll feel it in your body. It's going to make you... It's going to limit your ability to think and navigate in that instance. And you're probably going to make some bad decisions, you know, because I'm sure, I don't know, somebody would react by maybe punching the other person in the face or something, which causes like a whole, you know, a whole grouping of issues. Yeah. So it's having the compassion to go, right, I know that's going to happen. So it's, you know, and I know as soon as that feeling happens, I could get carried away by it really quickly. So I need like almost like a safety net to help me at least have the choice. Because you could still choose to go, all right, I think this situation, I don't know, if the person, say, spits in your face every
Right.
day and you've told them not to, maybe punching them in the face is the right thing to do.
It might be time.
It might be time. But give yourself the option to say, all right, maybe there's a reason behind this. Maybe somebody's had a bad day.
Well,
Maybe
yeah.
they just need somebody to listen to them.
Right.
It's not going to be easy in that instance, but it's giving yourself the option, which is compassion for yourself, because anger is not good. And it's compassion for the other person, because most people would respond with, violence in that instance, as opposed to maybe going, why did you spit in my face? Like, can we, what's going on to make you do that? Whatever it may look like. So, yeah, it's full compassion.
Yes. And not that you would have to ask the other person, but even
I was just thinking about it.
Oh,
yeah. Why did you spit in my face?
No, I did see you doing that, actually.
I probably would say that, to be honest.
And hey, by the way, what's the purpose of life? While we're at it?
I've only asked all of our guests that question.
I know. Okay? But even just staying curious in your head of what that is about. And that reminds me, I was listening, and like I say, I can never remember people's names because I just get so caught up in their stories. I just don't even remember their names. But
yeah.
Anyways, I was hearing lately he was a Black gentleman. And this was quite a long time ago, because it was still when there was somewhat segregation. So I think it was in the 60s. And he was like a musician, like a blues musician or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up meeting these people from the Ku Klux Klan, which I assume you know what that is, even though you're not in the States. Ended up becoming friends with some of them. And he ended up writing a book about the Ku Klux Klan. But the point of it is, the whole way he was able to do that is because he was always very curious about where they were coming from.
Mm.
Well, and some backstory, he had been, his parents were like an ambassador for the United States or something. So he had traveled all over the world, and he was always with a bunch of different nationalities and stuff. And so he never really even knew what discrimination was as a kid.
Mm.
And so anyways, so that's why he was really actually curious, and he wasn't confrontational with these people. He was just like, really, why are you thinking that way? And that was really inspiring to me. If you could just do that, if you could really just tap into that curiosity and that compassion instead of judging someone right off the bat.
Yeah. That's an extreme situation.
It is, but it's such a great example.
It is. It's beautiful.
And it'd be hard for anyone else to do that, I think, because he had pretty unusual upbringing in that he was exposed to so many different people. Or where a lot of people, like, I grew up with mostly white people, or maybe Black people who grew up with mostly Black people around them, or whatever it is. You usually grow up with people, like-minded people around you. So he had kind of an unusual upbringing in that way, but man, I'm like that's something I want to tap into.
Yeah.
And that's really a mindfulness exercise, is staying curious.
It is. Well,
instead of jumping to a conclusion.
Yeah. I don't think you can have proper compassion without mindfulness, because you're working against like biology here, and there's so many factors that will be out of your control. So you need to kind of wrestle back some of that control, because you can go in with the best intentions possible to be like, I'm going to be more compassionate to people.
Well, yeah.
But you do need to take that time to go, all right, well, what are my normal reactions? And I'm sure this is what happens with a lot of things, like it would be that example of the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah.
Or it could be, people's political views. I don't know, there's so many examples in the world, right, where people can't talk and communicate properly. And, part of that would come down to they're not mindful. They are caught up. Like, I guess you see these people that are just caught up in their emotions.
Right.
And they're blinded, which is where it ties into the self-compassion thing. Being properly compassionate to yourself is going, well, I'm blinded by,
Yeah,
say, my anger. Like,
true.
anger makes you stupid. Like it's shown, it actually makes you stupid. So, why would you want to do that to yourself? Wouldn't you want to be as open-minded and aware and, to all the possibilities? Because
Right.
that's what's truly going to make you, um, you know, learn about the world is by being super open. So don't
Yeah.
restrict yourself. Understand that there's things that are in play in you that you can't control without having mindfulness, I guess.
Well, right, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's now I'm really liking that because I never thought of that until I just said it about the curiosity is being mindful.
Yes.
Because yeah, we really, I mean, even though we're more connected than we've ever been, blah blah blah, or there's more information available to us than there's ever been, we still all kind of grow up in this little bubble where we think that the way our life is how everybody else's life is. I mean, you
Mm,
can't help but kind of think that.
mm.
And I think that causes a lot of problems. But if you can bring that curiosity into it, I think that would help you get past that a little bit. And remember that, yeah, the like the world that you're living in is just a little speck of
Yeah.
what is on this entire planet.
Actually, I just thought, because that's a really good point, I just thought of an example that's like very relevant, I think, to the world right now and something that
Okay.
I talk to my friends about a lot. So I think it's definitely a global thing at the moment, but we're noticing it in the political arena in Australia a lot,
Okay.
is sexual harassment towards women in
Okay.
politics.
Yeah.
And it's created very much a heightened climate where a lot of men, including some of my really close friends, and I had this initial reaction too, would hear these stories, and
Yeah.
my instant reaction was, well, not all men do that. I don't do that.
Yeah.
Now, the
I
problem with
think that's a
that, which,
normal reaction.
yeah,
Yeah.
because straight away you internalize it and you think about you from your perspective, and the reaction of me hearing of a story of sexual harassment and makes me angry,
Yeah.
right? But straight away, for some reason, it's like I feel like it's an attack on me, and I think about
Yeah.
me, and blah blah blah. I'm sure everyone, as you say, feels that way. But it's when I can take pause to say, by looking at it just through that lens and not having pause to say, yes, I'm angry about that, and yes, I worry about how that may impact me and other, and the
Yeah.
perception of men in general. That's causing issues for me hearing the stories of women who are sexually
True.
discriminated or sexually harassed, and the importance of them telling these stories so that we can break this. And if the image of man has to cop, a bit of a hard time for a while for that to kind of move forward productively, it's a pretty small thing. But
Yeah.
like it's true for everything. It's the same, say, with, I hear people talk about Black Lives Matter and the difficulty of this, how scary it is for white people to talk to a black person about that.
Sure.
And probably because there'll be a lot of frustration and anger there,
Yeah.
which will cause you to get frustrated and angry or uncomfortable. But if you have pause, you
Right.
could listen to that person who might be angry, and just learn from that experience, as opposed to getting wrapped up in it and going, I don't like the fact that you're angry at me, and now I'm responding,
Yeah.
with more anger. I guess the main point I'm trying to get at is, it's like, if we're going to really work through the big, tough issues of today, we have to be mindful. And
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, so it's beneficial to everyone.
Whatever you want to call it, however you want to go about it. Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
exactly. Exactly.
All right, is
I've
that your
probably waffled
concluding
too much
thought?
now. Did you have any closing thoughts?
Oh, I don't think so. I think that was a good way to wrap it up.
Yep.
Don't you think so?
I think so. Yeah. I
Okay.
guess just summarizing the 3 points, very quickly.
Yes.
So we covered 3 topics. What are the different ways we can be mindful? What are the health benefits of being mindful? And how can practicing mindfulness help us be more compassionate? So, as we said, lots of different mechanisms to be mindful. Just choose your vehicle. Health benefits, there's heaps. It's good for your mental health. It's good for your physical health. And ultimately, if you want to be compassionate, and I'm talking self-compassion, compassion for others, mindfulness is good in helping you do that. So hopefully that gives a good introduction into mindfulness.
No, that was awesome. So yes, so I would give the formal close to the show, which is to thank everybody who's watching or listening. Thank you very much. Let us know what you learned. Hopefully you got, even if you take one thing away from it that helps you in your life, that's all we're hoping for. So that would be awesome. So you can, again, find us on Amazon Music, Spotify, YouTube, and you can email us at cheerstoNotSettling@gmail.com. You can give us as little as $1 to help us keep this thing going at coffee. I think those are all our plugs. So we'll just say until next time, cheers to not settling. Bye.
Bye.